Hi, we're back with Thursdays with Culture Talk, and it's Cynthia. I have with
Hey,
me Teresa,
hello.
and we are excited today to welcome another one of our Culture Talk partners, Sarah Birken, who is based in Sydney, Australia. Just a little brief history on Sarah. She is what she calls herself a strategic sense maker. She works with companies, people, teams on really complex projects. As a matter of fact, the more complex the organization, almost the juicier for her. She helps them kind of uncover internal DNA, strategy, culture. How do you align those things, and how do you align teams in performing towards shared goals? So anything that's multi-division, multi-country, multi-location, departments or merged companies having challenges with each other, she's an expert at bringing clarity, collaboration, and capitalization. So moving teams forward. So Sarah, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Mm. And I'd love to have you describe a little bit about the client you're currently working with Culture Talk, and kind of a little background on what they're up to and what you're trying to help them accomplish.
Yeah, sure. So I think the main thing that I look to achieve with clients is to give them a beacon in the noise. If you imagine that you've got such a complex environment often that we're working in, people just really need to have this beacon in the noise to hold on to. So that in this particular client exercise, it was really to find that beacon in the noise for their culture. So they are a property developer, but they have 8 vertically integrated businesses that were all purchased at different times.
Mm.
And they have a couple of directors that sit across all of these businesses, and they've grown. Like COVID just meant that they grew quite quickly, which is brilliant. But of course, being locked down and in growth, it kind of pulls your team apart a little bit. So they came to me at the end of last year and they were like, our teams are just not getting on as well as they could, and we don't know what's going on. And so this is a great opportunity to kind of go in there and run the culture talk process with them across all 8 of their businesses. And what we discovered is that each of the 8 businesses have much more in common than they realized. And actually, they sat back from that workshop and they were like, wow, I didn't realize we had so much in common.
Mm.
They're all very high hero, being in the industry that they're in. And they had on one side, because there's 6 or 7 of these businesses are actually under one umbrella, and then there's another business under another umbrella. But what they realized is that, actually, yeah, we're all high hero and we're all high sage. And on this other side, they're like, we're all high hero. And then we've got this high every person jester kind of
Mhm.
quick intelligence going on. And it was fascinating because on one side, they've got so much in common. And then on another side, you can look for where there's like friction and where there's clash. But at the same time, every single business had exactly the right time of archetypal mix to make that business run smoothly. So you didn't want to change anything necessarily. We just wanted to recognize the blind spots
Yeah.
so that they could see where these blind spots were getting in the way of their relationship with the other business units. And so they've sat back and they had this awareness, and I think it kind of hit them, and they were like, oh, wow. Yeah, I totally see how that goes on. And now we're at this point where, we're kind of going in and doing some extra kind of group coaching with each of those businesses so they can see those blind spots and go, well, if this is what happens and we're not really aware of it, how can we bring awareness to it? What do we want instead of it? And what might we do differently? So we're at that point with them right now. But it's been incredibly unifying for them, because you imagine 8 businesses, they're all kind of working in their own business, their own areas, and also construction. You're often off on site. So you're not often within an office environment. You've got remote teams.
Mm.
Wow, that's exciting. Are they now, so this new awareness that's been created, are you working with them to create plans around it? What's a kind of a next step in this?
Yeah, so the first thing that we've been doing is we've created a working group to come alongside while I facilitate the development of an internal communication strategy, because I feel like, we've got this new understanding and this new awareness. How can we develop a framework for not only our culture, but consistent communication? So we've come in and we've energized these teams, and they're going, wow, we're actually quite similar and we do complement each other. How can we now develop this framework for consistent communication so that we can keep sharing and reminding people through story, as well as get the essential pieces of communication out there to create the even stronger bonds? So we've started this process of creating that strong bond. How can we keep that process going? So that's one initiative that's happening at the moment. So I'm really excited that we've got representatives from across the businesses to come together as part of this working group to go, who are our internal stakeholder audiences? What do they need to know from us about culture, about the projects that we're working on? A lot of the functional detail stuff as well, because for so long, the two directors had been going around trying to do a lot of that communication themselves. So that's one area. Another area that it's highlighted is that, they've got opportunities to really strengthen their overall internal processes and start to operationalize things as a group as well. So they've got some things that they're working on internally too. But I think, the internal communications piece is a really great first step for them. And then beyond that, it's really about going in and just doing some additional group coaching with each of the teams and understanding for a couple of the business units, what is the mix of individual archetypes in the leadership team of those individual businesses? Because we can see that in a couple of areas, the energy is great for that business, like the culture is great for that business, but maybe it needs a little bit of something else, a little bit of hero, a little bit of visionary magician. Do we have those people in those business units already? Can we identify them? Can we kind of bring that energy through as well to help that business kind of charge forward in collaboration with the others and be more successful?
I am excited to hear what's next. We'll bring Sarah back on maybe later in the program to hear how it's continued to evolve. And I would say the biggest takeaway I'm hearing right now is that you started with all this disparity, and going through the process of looking at culture actually is creating this sense of unity, which I think is a really cool outcome. So thank
Very,
you.
Yeah, it's exciting to see how organic it has been, even as it continues to unfold. So look forward
Thanks
to
so
more.
much. Thanks for having me on the call.
Yes, and we love talking culture with you. We will be back again next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.